My name is Showkace. I'm a mental health therapist. We're gonna have a conversation.
It's go time, baby!
I come from a family of 7. We came here in 1992 from a country called Sri Lanka. My family is Tamil. Honestly, it was just a lot of us at the same time. Dad had sponsored us over, and just growing up in Scarborough, what does that look like? So I kind of grew up like many people, many BIPOC people right now who would share those experiences, but really growing up just assimilating into a new culture and just navigating life. And so trying to figure out friends, trying to figure out who we are, trying to figure out what's happening with mom and dad. There was just like a lot going on, but it was a journey. It was a journey, but I'm very appreciative of this journey.
What do you do?
I'm a mental health therapist. I work with the BIPOC community in and around GTA. I've been serving the community for a few years now. Got into the field over a decade ago, but specifically in the last 4 years, I've been doing clinical therapy and providing services, mental health services for adolescents and adults.
Talk to us about the creation of Showkace.
Showkace is my baby, and the reason why I say this is because there was a moment in my life, and I want to say 2017, where I felt like lots of things were happening to me. So it was a breakup, it was a sister having a diagnosis of cancer, it was just me not really feeling seen, feeling worthy. So it was a difficult year for me. And in that year, I experienced my first anxiety attack. And I think I didn't even have the language at the time to establish what this was. And also trying to be a therapist. I know wrapping up school and just really working and hustling to become a therapist, just really learning what this looked like. So in 2017, it was quite apparent that I was suffering with my mental health. And that year, something really spoke to me. It was more so about, you can't be the only one that's suffering from mental health. Because I also witnessed like family members and friends experience a lot of things, whether it was suicidal ideation, trauma, conflict, just so many other things, body image. And so I'm just like, no one talks about it. And so if you look at your life right now and you kind of like span that and ask who really talks about mental health, it's not a conversation that's really had. So I think in 2017, I really wanted to have a conversation. I wanted to start normalizing what mental health is. And even when we talk about the mental health continuum, what does that look like? Because I think oftentimes when we think of mental health, everyone's like, you have issues, like you're mental, you're not stable. And so there's a lot of stigma attached to it. Showcase comes, it's a play on words. My nickname is Case, and I kind of added the show in front of it because I really wanted this brand to start elevating the importance of talking about your feelings. Showcase that, right? Like be able to talk about your feelings, have conversations, start telling people what's going on and finding the right people to even share that with. So I use this online platform on my Instagram where I just started making videos. And at the time I was engaging in a lot of dance therapy. So I would literally find music that resonated with me and I would use it in hip hop and contemporary styles, and I would start formulating a sense of therapy through that. So many of you know, if you engage in therapy, there's different modalities and dance therapy is one of them. So I actually started this brand off with dance therapy, and so it was really about curating conversations as I was dancing because music is so universal. And so when artists sing, there's so much depth into emotion. And I thought that was such a cool concept. It started healing parts of me. So that's really what Showcase is about. It was about bringing awareness. I'm South Asian, and within my community, it's never spoken about. Our parents and our grandparents don't understand the language. They never had resources, tools. So as a therapist now, I do a lot of work around intergenerational trauma. And it's so important for us to start recognizing these things. So in 2017, I started this brand. And here we are in 2024, and it is my 7th year, and just really honestly so grateful. God's really kind of like carried me through so many different opportunities and avenues to really elevate what that looks like. And it's a healing process that I truly believe that all of us need to be a part of.
What's an initiative that you've been working on?
So my biggest initiative to date is Let's Talk event. After years of working on Showcase, and this is through workshops, public speaking, partnerships with some great community organizations within the city, I really sat there and thought to myself, a lot of my stuff is online. There has to be a humanizing process to it. So I said, let's bring it to life. Last year in 2023, I decided to have my first ever event. And this event was really to invite community to come into the space that I've been curating online. So it required, honestly, it required those real conversations in live spaces. I got together, I contacted a few colleagues who are also in the mental health field. So whether they're social workers or therapists or even educators, and I just had a conversation with them. I'm like, hey, would you guys be interested in really sharing what it's like as clinicians to what this work looks like? One of the biggest gap and stigma even is, why therapy? What's good about therapy? People have some pretty wild ideas about what therapy looks like. And so one of my biggest goals was to educate people and to really, really have a conversation. So what better way to do that than to have both parties in the same room? It was a free event for the community last year. And so we had about, I want to say 4 to 8 clinicians, educators come, and we had about over 100 people come into the space, and it was just amazing. It was beautiful. I was able to facilitate. We had some artists who also took part in it, and it was just a great time. And I think the important part about that is we all walk away understanding the importance of healing. But another thing with this as well is, like, you do not have to suffer alone. I don't care where you come from, what country, how you look like, what food you eat. Mental health is universal. We all have challenges from it. And I wanted people to understand the mental health continuum. All of us have mental health, which is healthy, but sometimes we can fall into not so healthy, and what does that look like? So that was really the aim of this event. I was just so blown away by how many people felt the space was so necessary. It really is. We don't really have a lot of these spaces happening all the time. But honestly, shout out to organizations and business owners and all the other people who do curate spaces like this, but we need more. And part of Showcase's vision and brand is to keep curating physical spaces where people can actually come to. So with that being said, this year I just finished on July 21st my second event, and it was just phenomenal. My team and I were able to do the same thing and have a bigger space, have bigger conversations, and it was again a place of healing. This event is something that I want to do every year. One of the biggest challenges of this event is we need support. We need support from individuals like you who might be able to invest, who might be able to help, who might be able to champion it, who might be able to spread the word. As any grassroots or small business owner, that's the kind of help that we need, because it's hard. It's hard curating all of this because we need support financially, we need venues, there's so much to do. And so coming into allyship together with one another, I think, is so important. So I'm hoping that I can be able to take this event into bigger spaces, have bigger conversations, but most importantly, touch the lives of many, many, many more people that live in and around our neighborhoods. One of the things that I really wanted to highlight was you could see that the evolution of this event. Last year was my first year, and this year I was able to actually curate a team. So just kind of pulling some funds together. I had some amazing sponsorship from my church community, from other people in my community who really, really came together. It was a ticketed event this time around, so even through that, people were able to donate and really support it. And this year we had around 150 people really pull up in that space, and that's still a significant growth for me from last year, about 100 people, to another now 50. And I think slow and steady is what it's at. I don't think this kind of work is about who can sell out what, right? Or who can show up what on Instagram. This work is so personal. This work is human. It's human. So if I touch one life or if I touch 10,000 lives, it's still an impact. And I think the second year of Let's Talk was just confirmation that we need to have more of these events. We need to have these conversations. We need to bring people together. And I'm talking about people of all different levels. We live in a time right now where things are hard. The world looks dark. But through spaces and people who really want to use their time to bring the light into the darkness, I think this is what it's about. I think this is how we restore. We restore so much through this. And there's so many aspects of community. This event, oh my gosh, we had so many different people just walk into the space, and it was a multi-generational event. I had children as young as like 10 to 12, and we had elders in their 60s who participated in this event, which I was mind blown, because my work has usually catered from the 20 to 40 demographic, but this year the turnout was just so much. And so I think that also speaks volumes as to why this work is so important, because it's not about helping the seniors only. It's not about, okay, just let's focus on the children. It's not about what are the young professionals doing. It's about all of us, because the future is brighter when we actually include every single one of us in the problem solving of what this looks like. So I hope for a greater future. I hope for people to not be ashamed of, a mental health diagnosis. I hope for people to feel safer. I hope for organizations and companies and people that are actually have these resources, I hope they understand. Because there was probably one point in your life where you didn't have much, and you've come to now having a lot. What do you do with that? Give it back. Give it back to community. And so that's what I do. I remember, like I told you earlier, my parents were not well off. They really struggled to raise 5 kids. Didn't really have much. But now I sit here as a very successful therapist who's doing a lot of the work, so grateful for these opportunities. I'm not worried about food on my table. I'm not worried about these things, but I came from that. But what I can do is give back, and I could do is have conversations. I can help my community and other communities, and that's what I'm really asking for everyone. So if you haven't been to my event, I encourage you, take part in my event, take part in other people's events as well. Be part of community, because you matter. You matter. And it's important for you to have conversations. It's important for you to share your story, because there's always going to be other people in the space that actually understand it. So this event to me was just an additional memory that I get to keep, because every single person that walked in that space, I was able to greet them. I was able to give flowers to people. I was able to let people talk about what's going on. There were lots of tears in this space. These spaces are not always about smiling and taking photos. These spaces are heavy, it's hard, but that's therapy. That's what it comes down to when we talk about mental health. But it's so important, it's so vital. And a lot of people walked away from my space, from that space, just saying thank you. Thank you. So this entirety of what I do, whether I'm the therapist or doing consultations, or I'm speaking, or I'm hosting a community event, anything that I put my hands on, at the end of the day, is really to elevate community. It's really to help people understand the importance of healing. And it's also to normalize conversations. You do not have to do life alone.